All right, Joanne, take it away whenever you're ready.
Hi, everyone. My name is Joanne. I'm the director of the Health Professions Post-Bac program. I assume, Brielle, you introduced yourself already?
Not quite. We've been doing undergrad and the track, and we know this is for pre-vet students, but I'll just quickly introduce myself. My name is Brielle. I'm a staff advisor here at HPA, advising for all health professions, but today we're specifically focusing on the pre-vet track for our program. And so it's going to be great. We're really excited to have you here. And we also have Doug. He's our test prep coordinator that couldn't join us today. He'll be helping you for those of you that are studying for the GRE, and Joanne will go over a good amount of that as she does the presentation, but he is the other staff advisor, as well as Chelsea, who will also be on our team.
Yep, thanks, Brielle.
Yeah.
So, we're all very excited to have you here tonight, and I'm going to talk a little bit about preparing for vet school and why we created this program before we jump into the presentation. So Brielle and I and our team have been advisors in health professions advising, which hopefully many of you have already utilized. I've been there for 6 years, and Brielle's been around UC Davis for longer than that, and as an advisor for 2 or 3 years now. And we spend a great deal of our time talking to pre-vet, all health, pre-health students about the need for post-bac. You're all here probably because you had similar experiences as an undergrad. Maybe some of you came in and just for a lot of different reasons, your first and your second year didn't go as well as you had hoped, whether it's chemistry, organic chemistry, or whatever it is. People's GPA sometimes isn't where they need it to be when they graduate. And so that's where post-bac comes in. Post-bac there are tons of post-bac programs all over the country, and the idea is to give students an extra year to build that upward trend. We're going to talk a little bit tonight about the UC Davis School of Vet Med versus other vet schools, and how this program specifically will prepare you really, really well for the UC Davis School of Vet Med program. But obviously, if you're preparing for the School of Vet Med program here at UC Davis, you're going to be prepared for all vet programs, because that's one of the most competitive in the country. So we have these conversations all the time with students about how to build that upward trend. And before we opened this post-bac program, before we created it, there were only a handful of post-bac programs out there that are really appropriate for pre-vet students. None of them are like 100% designed for pre-vet students. Many of them are pre-health, and they sort of, they'll have maybe some pre-vet, but most pre-vet students who need post-bac work, they actually go through community college and get they repeat courses at community college. And that you can definitely do that. Like, that's an option that people have. However, you're going to run into some issues if that's the case. And here are some of the issues that we're running into with students. Let's say you only need to repeat 2 or 3 C's on your lower div science coursework. You're going to repeat those classes at a community college, but you're going to very quickly run out of options at the community college, because community colleges only offer lower div science. So after you repeat those courses, you'll get 2 or 3 more A's, but you're going to still need more coursework to kind of build that upward trend and build that GPA up to above that 3.0 mark. At a community college, you're going to run out of options, so you're going to end up going to a 4-year. At a 4-year, you're going to be doing this sort of on your own. If you go to any 4-year, you're trying to do it through open campus. You're going to be out there trying to figure out what classes to take, trying to use the campus without using any of the services, because when you're doing something through open campus, you don't get to utilize any of the campus services. So we definitely recognize a need. And this actually came after talking to the dean and the director of admissions at the UC Davis School of Vet Med. It really reinforced the need for this, because what they said was, when they see students who take community college coursework, they actually don't value that coursework quite as much as they do when someone does university level or even a master's degree level coursework. They know people do that, but it's just not held to the same standard as upper div science coursework. So knowing that they give preferential treatment in the holistic review group to those who do 4-year coursework, I felt like there was a need for post-bac work in Northern California, in the Sacramento region, for our pre-vet population, because we have so many students in the Bay Area, in the Sacramento area, who want to go to the UC Davis School of Vet Med. and I talk to students all the time, Brielle too, we talk to students all the time who have this need, but there just wasn't anything there for them. So we partnered with the Continuing and Professional Education Department, and this is all in conjunction with the School of Vet Med. We've had many conversations with them. I'm actually meeting with Dean Larimore next Friday to go through how we can partner and create more for our pre-vet population in the post-bac program. But right now, the verbal agreement that we have from the UC Davis School of Vet Med is that anyone who goes through the post-bac program at UC Davis will get preferential treatment in the holistic review process. So if they have two candidates, someone who does maybe community college and someone who completes our post-bac program, they would choose our post-bac program student over someone else. And that's because they believe in what we're doing, and they know that the upper div science coursework that you're going to take at UC Davis is going to be rigorous and it's going to be intense. And it's going to give you that chance to prove you can do vet school. All right, so I shared my screen. If you can't see my screen, please let me know. So we're going to talk all about what we're going to do in this post-bac program if you were to come to us. So it is truly a health professions post-bac. So there will be other students in the program who are pursuing nursing or medicine, human medicine. But what we really would love to have is a separate pre-vet cohort with a significant number of students that we can separate and do some really fun animal and pre-vet specific programming with. We have two options for students. So a lot of our students who are interested in post-bac are going to want the full 15-month program, because what the 15-month program is going to do for you is it's going to provide a complete last 60 units. So just to kind of backtrack a little bit, if you are not familiar with how the UC Davis School of Vet Med screens their applicants, they use a very quantitative method to pick who gets invited to interview. So it's an algorithm, it's a computer algorithm that they plug in, they run all their applicants through this algorithm. And the factor that has the largest points that goes into the algorithm is your last 60 units at UC Davis. So that's roughly about a year worth of coursework, a year and a half. And with 15 months or 4 quarters, even 5 quarters if we have to, we can get you up to that last 60 units. If you recreate your last 60 units with straight A's, you're going to get the highest number of points for the UC Davis interview. The second variable that goes into the algorithm is the science GPA. So in our program, you are predominantly going to take science coursework. So even if you have a lot of science coursework coming in, 60 units in science coursework is going to have an impact on your science GPA. So we're going to recreate your last 60. We're going to make a major dent in your science GPA. And then the third variable that goes into the algorithm is your GRE score. So GRE scores for the UC Davis post-bac or the UC Davis School of Vet Med are typically at least 70th percentile. The higher your GRE score, the lower other things can be, because it all balances out. It's just a point system. So with our in-house test prep program, even if test taking isn't your thing, you're going to get access to in-house GRE prep, where hopefully we can get that GRE score way up above 70th percentile, and that might make up for a little bit lower of an overall GPA or a little bit lower of a science GPA. There are people who get into the Davis Vet program with 3.4s or 3.3s because they have really high other areas. And then the fourth thing that goes into their algorithm is the letter of rec scores, the LOEs. And so we offer a composite letter service where we will collect all of your letters of rec, evaluate them, we'll write a cover letter, and we submit your letters of rec to the VMCAS. So we're the ones who are doing that evaluation. So we'll make sure that, assuming you're all wonderful people and you have no major character flaws, that we'll make sure your LOE scores are also very high. So those are ways that we can control for your successful entry into the UC Davis School of Vet Med. And we've thought that out very clearly because I mean, we've been doing this work for a long time. We know how to get people in, and this is coming straight from their mouths. They also know that it is just a numbers game, and you just have to do these things, and it's not complicated once you do them. So we're creating this program so that you literally go through these steps, you go through the 5 quarters, and you should be ready to apply to the school at the spring after you're finished. If you don't need a full 15-month program, but let's just say your GPA is okay, you just need a handful of courses you have to repeat, or you're just missing some courses, we do have a quarter-by-quarter option that lets you just take a quarter's worth of courses through the post-bac program, and it still gives you access to our advising, and it gives you access to our test prep instruction during that quarter. So that's an option too. If you want to stay at Davis, you don't want to go do open campus somewhere else, you don't want to do community college coursework, you can do the quarter-by-quarter option through our program. One thing I didn't talk about is the setup of the program. Yeah, it's not in here. But one thing that was really, really important to me and deliberate in the creation of this curriculum is that we have just one cohort each year, and it always starts in January. If you look at other post-bac programs, you'll notice that they have multiple entry start times. So they'll have a class in January, they'll have a class in the summer, they'll have a class in the fall, and they primarily do that because they're trying to get as many students in their program as possible. I'm not so much interested in getting as many students as possible. I'm really interested in getting students who we can admit into the program, into vet school. For me, it's quality over quantity. So we'll have one entry point. We're going to cap it at 60 students total, and that's pretty high in my opinion. I'm happy if it's below that. And we will go all year long from January until December. You will take a full load of science courses that entire year. In December, we're going to switch gears, and you'll be prepping for the GRE during that time as well. And you're going to take the GRE in January. I'm a big believer in getting things done early so that you don't have to stress in the springtime. So you're going to get your GRE score done right after you prep for it. It'll be over with. And then if you don't like your score, you still have time to retake it before you apply in the summer. In the 5th quarter, in our winter quarter, that's our last quarter. That's where we're going to get you all ready to apply. So VMCAS opens in January. We're going to get you in there. We're going to help you with your personal statements, your letters, your experience descriptions. We're going to start getting everything prepped for you. So by the time you're finished with our program in March, you're going to be set. You're going to be ready to submit that VMCAS in May when it opens for the submitting schools, and you'll be ready to go. No stress. Also during the 5th quarter, we're going to place you in a hands-on learning opportunity based around your interests. So all students coming into the program will select one of 3 tracks. They'll select either a research track, a clinical track, or a One Health track. And with the research track, it's pretty straightforward. I would really encourage, if you're thinking you might want to do a research track, to think about why you're doing the research track. If you have done research for 4 years as an undergrad and you just really love research, I would encourage you to consider doing something different, just for a different experience. There are a lot of reasons why people choose to do. We have applicants who did research for 4 years and they still want to do research, and they have a really good reason why. But a lot of times, if you spent that much time in a research lab, oftentimes we find that you're usually lacking in a different area. Maybe you need more animal experiences or more vet experiences, or a little bit, or maybe you want to do a different kind of research. After talking with the School of Vet Med folks, it turns out there are way more opportunities than I was aware of. They're talking about, hey, we can send these folks over to Bodega Bay and stay there for a quarter. We can do that. They have all these ideas with like dairy farms and just all kinds of really cool stuff. And I'm like, okay, whatever the students want to do, we'll find something that's really unique for each of you who choose whichever of those tracks. As you all know, there are plenty of faculty at the School of Vet Med who do One Health work. And there are a lot of opportunities, and the vet school, like I said, is already verbally committed to being a partner with us in this program, making sure that you get some type of hands-on learning opportunity in that 5th quarter. And the idea is to really supplement or to address a deficit that you might have. So if you have no idea what One Health is, and you know it's a big deal in the vet med world, and you want to feel a little bit more equipped to talk about that on your interviews or do work in that in your future, that's an opportunity for you to fill that void and learn something about it so that you're ready to go in your interviews. It's not necessarily just to reinforce something you already know. So I really push you to choose a track that's a little bit outside of your comfort zone, so it gives you a different point of view. We also have these support seminars. The first 2 are going to be required of you. They're a learning strategy seminar and a test-taking strategy seminar, and that's really going to be a space for us to come together every week and just make sure you're doing okay in your classes. We're going to talk a lot about studying and the psychological components, the learning science behind it, and it's going to be a safe place for us to touch base about how things are going in your classes. It's going to be rough. I mean, I know undergrad might have been hard for some of you. This is not intended to be any easier than undergrad, but the difference between this and undergrad is, first of all, you all lived through undergrad and you know what you could have done differently. I'm sure you've all reflected on that, and you're here today because you're ready to do something different. You're ready to approach this in a different way. Second, what I find with undergrads is that you do a lot. You do way too much sometimes. You're doing work and research and clubs and internships, and with post-bac you really can't do all that. You really have to just do your courses with your cohort. I'm sure you'll all have social activities, but you are not going to be engaged at the same level that you were as an undergrad. So you will have time to study the way that you should have studied maybe at some point in your career, right? When we all realize, like our freshman year taking chemistry, like, oh, maybe I should have studied a tiny bit more. You get that chance now to show that on paper that you can really take these rigorous courses and do well. In your third quarter, we have a class called Narrative Medicine, which is going to be a really fun opportunity for you to start to explore your own story in terms of why vet med. And this is where we're going to start to warm up to those personal statements. And we have a narrative journal on campus where I really hope to see some of you publish some of your work in that pre-health journal around your own stories of why vet med. And then the medical terminology class, we're still playing with that a little bit in relation to the vet med. I'm imagining if you don't take the medical terminology class, we'll come up with something equally as fun for you. And again, lots of resources available. So we'll figure out what that looks like for you. I haven't talked to the faculty member to find out how different the medical terminology would be, but I imagine it's pretty different for a vet. So that part we're still working on a tiny bit, but I promise you it'll be something as fun as medical terminology. For reinforcement courses, this is also a really truly unique aspect of this program. We have partnered with, we hired, I should say, you maybe have heard of Brian Enderly. He teaches chemistry here on campus. He has signed up to teach our chemistry and our organic chemistry course for this program. So if you got a C- in chemistry or OChem and you need to repeat that class, which you will for vet school, you will take our reinforcement class in chemistry or OChem or both, and it's going to be taught by Brian Enderly. He is really excited to teach this because, you know, in a normal chemistry class, you all know this, there are hundreds of people in those classes, and you don't always get the individualized attention that you want. And he's a really fun guy. Like, he loves teaching chemistry. So he's really excited to have this really small group that he can really get to know. And he knows everyone in the class has already taken chemistry once. So he's going to basically go over all the major concepts of chemistry as it relates to health professions. He's going to basically teach you everything you need to know for chemistry in that 1 quarter. So it's going to be it's a reinforcement course. So it's going to basically teach you the most important stuff you need to know for chemistry and organic chemistry, but it'll be fun. He's really excited to do this. And same thing for physics if you need to repeat a physics. If you happen to, let's just say you have 3 C's in chemistry, you didn't get a C-, so you don't technically have to repeat chemistry, but let's just say you did and you want to repeat chemistry. Just because you always kind of like, I know I could do better. I wasn't in the right place that time. I want to finally do this. You can absolutely take the reinforcement course just for yourself to get that A in chemistry so you can finally say you did it. And I know that's a thing for a lot of people, is they just want to conquer that chemistry or that organic chemistry. So that is the outline for the curriculum, and I'll stop. Does anybody have any questions about anything that I said?
Actually, yeah, so we've answered a few, but the current question that I'm responding to now is a post-bac meant for students below a 3.0? And also, if I'm applying to vet med, would a post-bac be too late for me? So I'm assuming Cassandra might have meant if she's applying this cycle, would it be too late to do a post-bac?
Yeah, I was, let me go to the admissions page real quick. So if you apply to vet school right now, you should find out if you have interviews in the fall. It's a little bit tricky because you'd have to apply to the post-bac program while you're applying to vet schools. And if you were to start the post-bac program in January, and then let's say hypothetically you did get interviews after January and you ended up getting into vet school, then of course, you would stop the post-bac program and go to vet school. We'd all be very happy for you. That's kind of up to you if you want to play that sort of gamble with that. If you don't do it that way, you'd have to wait another year before you started post-bac. So if you wanted, like if you're on the fence right now and you're really nervous about your candidacy for vet school, some people apply even though, they kind of apply with the attitude of like, well, I'm just going to see how it goes. I kind of feel a little insecure about my GPA, but I'm just going to see, right? If that's where you are and you're just kind of putting it out there and you're going to see how it goes, but you're a little nervous, you're thinking it might not work out because of your GPA, then it might be a good idea to go ahead and apply for the post-bac program in September. Our deadline is September 30th. So if you get your application submitted and you apply for post-bac and then you get into the program doesn't start till January. So if you end up getting a ton of interviews before January, no problem, just withdraw your application for the post-bac and you can go to vet school. Like I said, we'd be very happy for you. But if you end up not getting any interviews, you're going to probably want to do something at that point. Like you're going to personally feel like I want to do something. So post-bac at that point would be a good plan for you. You could do that for the year and then reapply the following summer if you want to, or you can wait till you're completely finished with the post-bac and then apply.
And then Joanne, also for students planning to apply summer of 2021, which would be next summer, our program starts in January, of course. So the students want to know, would it be a good idea to hop into our 15-month program or maybe consider quarter by quarter might be a better option at that point? So
I think it really depends on where you're at with your GPA. So if we have here that our minimum is a 2.8, and I would say if you have below a 2.8, it probably would be a good idea for you to do some community college coursework before doing a post-bac. Most vet schools are going to have a minimum 3.0 to get screened, period, like for secondaries. The lowest average GPA I've seen at a vet school is 3.2. 3.2, 3.3. The majority of vet school averages are going to be closer to like a 3.4, 3.5. So if you're at a 2.8, if that applies to any of you, then I would argue that you would want to do a post-bac program or a master's degree in order to get that GPA up like way above a 3.0 before you hit submit on that VMCAS application. If you were to do the post-bac program while you apply, your coursework that you do after you hit submit does not go in your application. So if you were to apply in the summer of 21, you would only have the winter and the spring grades and partial summer to go into your application before you hit submit next September. Does that make sense? So to me, it feels like to get your full money worth, I would do the full program and then apply so that it really builds your GPA as high as you can get it before you hit submit. I know that takes a little bit more time. Again, everyone is welcome to apply and see how it goes. That's always an option for every person. Applying is very expensive. It's also emotionally draining to apply. So if you apply and it ends up working out, hooray. If you apply, it doesn't work out, you're going to feel really bad. Sometimes that causes some loss of motivation. It just doesn't feel good, right, to do that and have it not work out. So we often encourage people, if they feel insecure about any part of their application, we're not telling you don't apply. Like, we want you to go to vet school, but what we want you to do is work on the aspect of your application that you feel most worried about before you hit submit. Don't rush into applying if you don't feel like you're ready. And most people know, sometimes they'll have someone with a 3.9 who's insecure and wants to know if they need post-bac, and absolutely not, right? If you have a 3.6, you absolutely do not need post-bac. Even a 3.4, you absolutely don't need post-bac. But most people know. They know if they need some extra work in this area. And if you know that's you, then I would encourage you to really be honest and reflect about that before you spend the money applying. Because again, it's not just the money you're losing, it's also that really terrible feeling of like, I tried and I didn't get in. And you'll try again. We want you to, if you don't get in your first time, you try again. That's what people do. And sometimes it takes people more than one try to get into vet school. But I will say that if you get help, like if you're getting help from us with your applications, you're getting help with us through the whole year, through your whole post-bac program, you're being supported, you're being encouraged, you're being motivated, you have a strong support system with us and your peers. Hopefully the post-bac experience is very different than your undergrad experience if you had a struggle in your academics. Hopefully this is a really positive experience for you that builds your confidence going into vet school so that you feel like really empowered and ready to take on doctoral level science work. Does that answer the question? That was a really long answer.
No, I think that was great. I think we're good for now. We're just gonna handle the
Okay.
rest of the chat.
Well, let's go back a little bit then. So were there any questions about the tracks? No, okay. So the advising model, again, it's gonna be me, Brielle, and Doug kind of came in a little bit later. Doug is our test prep instructor. So you'll be working with Doug on your GRE. We are absolutely going to be all around you. Like, we are going to be there every single week meeting with you. We're going to be available to you. The undergrads don't know this yet, but I'm primarily shifting over to post-bac advising. So the undergrads are, if you're in the post-bac program, you'll have full access to me. Undergrads, not so much. And so this is going to be a very high touch model of advising. And all that means is that we are going to be there 100% to support you in any way possible. This boils down all the way down to your registration. So as an undergrad, you probably remembered how stressful undergrad was. There was like a pass time and you had to log in, you had to be there on time, or you lost your classes and it was just really overwhelming. You don't have to worry about that. When you get accepted into this program, we sit down and we make a year-long plan for your entire academic year. Just ignore those courses. Actually, I thought I updated this, but I guess I didn't save it. We actually have a course catalog just for the pre-vets. We make it a year-long course plan from day one. So you're gonna know what courses you're gonna take for the entire year. We enroll you in those classes, so you don't have to do any type of registration yourself. We take care of your registration. The only reason it wouldn't work out is if, for example, a faculty member decides not to teach a class that we had picked originally, or if the class is like 200 people over enrolled or something like that. But generally, we expect that we're gonna be able to enroll you in our plan, and we're trying to reduce the amount of stress that you're gonna have throughout this program. The composite letter service is something unique to the program. Undergrads do not have access to this. And what that means is that did I say this already? I can't remember because we did this presentation 2 days ago. I'm having a little deja vu. So we are going to collect your letters for you. We evaluate your letters and we upload your letters into VimCast. Yeah, I talked about this. And so we are the ones who do the evaluation in VimCast for you. But it's a letter service, so you don't have to. It just makes your life a little bit easier. We have a system where your letter writers would send it straight to us. And also it gives us a chance to pre-screen your letters. So we can't tell you what's in your letters, but we can pre-screen your letters. And so that gives us a little bit more reassurance going into the application process. If someone is saying something way off, out of line about you, we actually know that before we submit it, and we can do things about that. Okay, so, and then of course, tons and tons of application prep. That's what we're good at. In terms of GRE prep, we have contracted with Princeton Review to get the practice test and the practice materials. So you'll get access to 10 full-length practice exams for the GRE, and Doug will work with you to make sure that you have adequate practice. So 10 weeks at least of GRE prep is what you're gonna get if you're gonna take a practice test every week. I'm thinking 10 weeks of GRE prep, man, you all should be 99th percentile. That's a lot of GRE prep. What do you think, Doug?
There we go. Yes, GRE isn't as tricky as some of the other tests out there, so we wouldn't be necessarily doing a year-long program, although I would find you more than welcome to join in on some of our test prep specific test strategies and learning strategies classes that we're going to be doing. But as far as the GRE concern, is usually a lot more tailored to the individual because of vocabulary differences. You've probably heard that the GRE vocabulary is substantial compared to a lot of the other tests out there. So a lot of work there is just working on building up vocabulary. As far as the questions themselves, they're generally more straightforward. When it comes to the math, that's usually where we see the place where people need to improve the most in their score. And so that could be anywhere from just relearning things you learned in 6th grade math, which is a lot of what the math is on the GRE, and also starting to pick apart the trickiness that is the GRE problems in just the way they create the problems. So overall, it's not difficult content, it's basic content with really complicated looking questions. So we just have to help everybody learn to reading comp basically their way through the math. And so it doesn't take as much it's not nearly like taking an MCAT or a DAT or an OAT in the sense that there's very little content to review. So most of it's going to be focused primarily on learning how the test works, learning how to address the questions, and then working on your pace. So that's what we'll spend our time doing.
And I'm sure most of you are aware that most vet schools only look at the quantitative score. So the Davis Vet School only evaluates quantitative. So of course, we'll assess that in you very soon, or early in the program. And if you need some quantitative, some math rehab, Doug will definitely get you up to speed so that we can get you doing well on that section in particular.
Yeah, it's not that you don't remember it, it's just dusty. Got to dust the brush the dust off of it.
All right, so we went over the application, GPA stuff. Generally, this is a really straightforward app. We're very holistic in what we're looking for. We're looking for people who we can help get into vet school. And so you do need to have transcripts from every institution you attended. You send it straight to an application system called Post-Baccalaureate, which is similar to VMCAS. Actually, Post-Bacc looks exactly like VMCAS, so it's a really good practice for you. We do not require SAT scores, but if you have them, please put them in there. It just helps us gives us some historical perspective on your test taking. And then we ask for 2 letters of recommendation. If you have been out of school for more than a couple of years, we'll be a little flexible with that science faculty. We realize it's hard to stay in touch with those guys after you've been gone for a little while. If you just graduated, I expect that you can find one person on your campus who can say that you tried in their class. I'm not looking for someone who said that you have a straight A in their science class. I'm really looking for someone who says that you tried. I want to see evidence of you making an effort, going to office hours, meeting with them after class, asking questions, and that might have resulted in you getting a B, and that's okay. It's not the grade. It's really that effort. And so when you're asking for letters of rec from faculty, make sure you're pointing that out, that you really need a little bit more than just the ranking, your class ranking and your grade listed in the letter. Ask them to highlight your involvement with them and the TA in terms of the effort you put into doing as well as you could in that class. Even if you got a C in the class, I don't care about that. I want to know that you have the ability to build a relationship with the faculty member, because that's absolutely essential for you getting letters of rec for vet school. And then we have 3 personal statements, which will be in Post-Baccalaureate. We have them on our website too, if you want to get a head start on those. And that is really looking at your ability to reflect on the value that you bring to the career. And we want to know a little bit about what happened in undergrad that caused you to need post-bac. Any questions about any of that? Oops. Nope. Okay, so the not so fun part about this is that all post-bac programs are expensive, and it's because we're paying for all of your coursework and we're paying for the experiences and the test prep, and all of that costs a lot of money. So post-bac is expensive, but I want you to think about it this way. This is an investment in your future. You want to be a vet, and right now there's something stopping you. There's something in the way of you becoming a vet. The thing you need to do is to address the problem that's keeping you from being able to apply to be a vet. And we're talking about a year, almost a year and a half program that will essentially redefine you on paper to the vet schools, so that I'm not saying that what happened as an undergrad is going to disappear. They're going to absolutely see what happened as an undergrad. But what they will see is that you took the time to take a year-long program where you're taking nothing but upper division rigorous science courses, and proving on paper that you can handle a doctoral level science program. So that's a pretty significant program. It's a certificate program. It's a pretty significant thing to do for yourself. Like I said, it's an investment in yourself to get you ready to be able to do the thing that you want to do for the rest of your life. Once you become a vet, you're going to be very successful, and you'll be able to pay it back. But I don't want to minimize the cost. It is absolutely a significant amount of money. What I will promise you is that if you come to our program, we will make it worth every dime. We will do everything in our power to ensure that you're successful. We will support you. We will provide all the resources we can. This will not be something that you will look back on and say, well, what a waste, or I shouldn't have done that. This will be something you'll look back on fondly, and very much hope you appreciate the experience. And so that's really our goal. We really want you to grow and and improve from this program, but we also want you to enjoy the program. And that's very important to us. And we're going to do that through our cohort model and our support for you. We don't qualify for federal loans because we are a partner with continuing and professional ed, so it would be private loans or other funding sources to pay for the program. At this time, there is not any scholarships or grants. It's a brand new program, so we don't have any funding built up, but we will maybe one day get to that point, but at this point we don't have anything like that. So it would be private loans if you need loans to pay for that. Any questions? I see some chats coming through.
I think Doug pretty much tackled it, but the main question that one of the students just asked was, any tips on how to build relationships with professors during this time, you know, with the Zoom meetings and things being a little different?
Yeah, and that's hard. I mean, I'll just speak from a presenter's point of view. I do 2 or 3 live presentations almost every single day. And when I'm speaking to a group, and I'm sure not all of your classes are live, some of them are probably recorded, but I think they still have office hours, right? You're still going to live office hours. So when I'm doing a presentation to a group and I see, when I'm looking at their screen, all I see is a screen full of black boxes with names on it. And I often ask questions, and most of the time, sometimes I'm just met with silence. I'm just staring at black boxes and I don't hear a thing. But when I have someone who turns on their camera, even if they never say a word, just seeing that person's face engage with me, seeing that person like smile when I say something funny or laugh or nod or, you know, high five me or something, like just engage with me as a person like you would normally in a human interaction. I'm telling you, like, I never forget that person. I don't forget their face. I so much appreciate that human interaction, especially during this time. And if you take it one step further and you raise your hand and you ask questions, if you go to office hours and you do the same thing, turn on your camera, unmute yourself, ask questions, volunteer answers, even chatting in the box and asking good questions. You do have to put forth a little bit more of an effort in this new environment, this new learning environment, but I don't think it's impossible because I'm on the other side. I'm the one doing the presentations, and I know I can tell the difference between the students who are engaged with me and the ones that just probably logged on and turned off their camera and they're up running around their house or they're looking at their phone. They're not listening to me at all. I mean, if you're doing that in class, then I don't know why you would expect a letter of recommendation from the person. You really do have to show that you're interested in what they're doing in order to get that recommendation. So the thing I would tell you is actually not that different from in person. I would tell you the same thing. Sit down in the front row, nod and smile when they talk, answer their questions, go down afterwards, introduce yourself. You can stay after class in a Zoom if it's a live session, just hang out to the very end and then ask a really good question at the end. Introduce yourself just like you would in person. You could reach out and ask to have a private conversation with them and ask them really good questions. Just show that you care and show that you're engaged.
As a teacher that's worked online for the better part of 15 years, I can guarantee you that we can recognize the ones that are participating, the ones that are not. And it's not a difficult task in like, we're not just making mental notes, we're writing things down. We're writing down like, these are the people that are, you know, interactive and I want to help them more. Like it really does sort of come out that way as a teacher, that like, those are the folks that you remember. And when they ask for help, you're like, that's the first email you read and answer. It's not you put all the other ones off. It's like, I don't know who that is yet. Yeah. Like, I'll figure that out. So it's like, it's an important thing just to interact, period.
Yeah. Everyone's, you know, playing favorites. We'd like to think that's not a thing. It absolutely is a thing. It is absolutely a thing with instructors. It's a human nature thing. I mean, people like people who are interested in what they're talking about. And faculty especially spent a lot of time getting their PhDs. They spent a lot of time learning what they're teaching you. And they're really passionate about teaching you what they're teaching you. So anyone who just is really interested in what they're talking about, they're going to naturally gravitate towards that person. And I can totally vouch for that email thing, Doug. When someone is engaged with me and really nice to me and seems to like care about what I'm talking about, if I get 15 emails a day, which I do, from students asking me random things, I know which ones I'm going to answer first. It's going to be the ones who took the time to care about what I said. I'll get to the other ones. I mean, I'm not going to ignore them, but I'm going to answer the people who tried first. And that's how you get letters of rec. You have to just try.
The T-zone is real, even in person in online classes.
Yeah. And the great thing about Zoom is the more you participate, your picture goes up to the top. So if you just unmute yourself and say a couple things, your picture always stays at the top of the Brady Bunch chart.
Things I learned about Zoom.
Yeah.
We also have a question about whether or not the program will require students to be in person, which again, we don't know quite for January. So Joanna, if you could touch on that, and also students who would like to work full-time while they're in our program.
Yeah, so it is not going to be a good idea for you to work full-time and be in our program. The reason why most people, or I should say many people, don't do well in undergrad is because they did not have the time, or they didn't spend the time to develop themselves as a whole student in order to be the type of academic that it requires to make straight A's in science classes. I mean, there are definitely situations that occur in people's lives that cause problems, that cause, issues with grades. But I would say the majority of people, it's just simply not making the time to do well. And so I would not encourage you to work full time, because you're going to be taking 3 or 4 science classes at the same time. And these are upper div science classes that are going to require a ton of work from you. So if you're going to spend the money to do this program, I don't think you should do that. I think you're jeopardizing a lot. If you're going to do this program, you really need to get straight A's in it. That's my expectation for everybody. And then in terms of, what was the other question? This program, of course. Oh, so the fall, or the winter quarter.
COVID.
We have to follow whatever UC Davis does. So it's online in the fall. In January, we have every finger and every toe crossed that we're going to be in person. We want to be in person as bad as you want to be in person, I assume. We really want to start this program in person. I think it's just going to be a lot of fun to be together. But I have absolutely no say over that. So we really have to follow the direction of the university. So we'll have to see. If we end up being online, we're definitely not the only post-bac program that's online. All of our colleagues are doing it online this quarter. And there are ways you can build community and still have fun online. It's just not quite the same. But we will of course still provide the same services.
And we'll keep the website updated as soon as we find out any information. We don't want you all to be in the dark about that, because we know you'd have to secure housing and things like that. So please just stay up to date with our website. We're going to be updating that.
Our Facebook page too. If you haven't liked our Facebook page, definitely do that. Cool. What else do you want to know? Is this something that is interesting to anybody in terms of staying in Davis? I know we have a lot of Davis students. You all excited to stay in Davis a little longer? Do our letters of recommendation need to be written by UC Davis staff? I'm currently taking a class. No, absolutely not. Your letters of rec can come from anybody who can speak to your ability to do well in science classes. And you just need 2. So I would go with 1 faculty and 1 person who knows you outside of school, if that's possible. It doesn't have to be a vet, although you will need a vet for vet school. So if you don't have a vet already, that's definitely something we'll have to prioritize during the program, because during your 5th quarter, because you're going to need a letter from a vet. Do you advise applying to multiple postbacs? Yep, you should definitely do that. And that's what most people do. I would say most people apply to 2 or 3 postbacs at least. I do want to acknowledge that there are less postbac programs designed for pre-vets, but there are some out there. When you look for postbac programs, I would encourage you to ask the questions about the degree of advising that you'll get from the postbac programs. Sort of critically evaluate the advisor's experiences in advising for pre-vet. Look for connections to schools that you want to attend. So look how they're engaged with the schools that you want to go to. Look for GRE prep. I think that's a huge component. And then look at the rigor of the university that you're going to. Does the university have a reputation for being rigorous? Any other questions? Okay. Well, I want to thank you again for coming tonight. We are really excited to roll out the pre-vet portion of the post-bac program. Again, the vet school's excited to partner with us on this project. And once we have our cohort, we'll be able to sit down with each of you and come up with a plan for what makes sense for you academically, which will take into consideration the courses you previously took, what you need for vet school to be able to apply broadly to a lot of different schools, and then of course what your interests are. So we'll look at all of that. We'll come up with an academic plan for you. We'll look at, we have some questions. Do you advise applying to multiple posts? Oh, we did that. Where can we find recordings of this meeting? We can post this on our Facebook page. So if you could follow our Facebook page, I think it's Health Professions Post-Bac, you can find it there. How many times can we take the GRE? Is there a maximum time when it's too much? Is it 5 times a year, Doug?
Yes, 5 times, up to 5 times in a year, and then 1 time after that in any given year, up to 7 total, which I don't know anybody who ever gets up to that many. Generally speaking, the most I generally see people taking is 3, and that honestly isn't bad. Just the thing you want to focus on, if you're going to retake, make sure you do better the second time as you do the first time. And as long as you see that progression of score from one to the next, that's really the thing you want to see. Like if they're going to be looking at multiple tests, then they're going to want to see that it's going up. The nice thing about the GRE is you don't have to submit every administration to them. You only submit the ones you want. So if you don't do well on one of them, then you don't need to submit that first one. You would submit the one that you want them to look at.
The reason we have you take the GRE in January, like I said, is so we have plenty of time to reassess and prep you for our next one if needed. I see pre-vets taking the GRE in July of the year they're applying. That's not a good idea. Not a good idea. Okay, well, if you have any other questions, please don't hesitate to reach out to us. Brielle is really good at answering those emails. So you can email us at postbac@ucdavis.edu. We're happy to set up a time to talk with you if you need to. And I wish you all the best in your journey, and hopefully you let us help you get you into vet school. That's what we were really excited about. That's what we want to do. That's what this whole thing is about. We really love seeing students be successful, and we've been preparing for this program for a couple of years, talking about it, really wanting to do this. So we're all extremely excited and passionate about. Oh, nice work, Doug. Bring in your dog. Nice. You knew that I have cats. Can't find my cats. See, if you're into the program, Doug's dog all the time.
It was for the vet students. That's why.
I know.
Actually,
I know. I figured they're all going, oh. That's what happens when we have vet students in rooms. Well, I hope you can see that Brielle, Doug, and I are a really tight-knit team, and we're really wanting to help you. And if you need anything, please don't hesitate to reach out.
We are really easy to get a hold of. So if you have any questions, please shoot us an email. We're super happy to answer.
All right. Well, have a great night, everybody. Thanks for coming.
Bye.
Goodbye.
So long. Farewell. How are you saying goodbye?